We're kind of late. Our next topic will be the new scope of the Trans-Pacific Partnership according to the last meeting that we have in Puerto Vallarta. And the scope of it with Asia and Mercosur. We have today for this our great friend and partner, José Francisco Alejandro Ruíz Robles. José Francisco Alejandro, Notary Public number 32 of the Federal District, acknowledged by the Secretary of Economics, is also an arbitrage in financial services, a lot of positions, but now he's chairman of the Trade or Commerce Chamber of Peru and Mexico, and also head of the Notary Public Office 32 at Chungalo Asociados Law Firm, member Estudillo and Hernandez Law Firm, assistant of the Legal Department of Peñoles, and many other positions. He's a lawyer from the Pan American University, a post degree in labor law at the Arbitrage Local Board in Mexico City. Several appointments like Notary Public 22, and he's also an expert in copyrights and associated rights, international observer for presidential elections in Costa Rica in 1997, appointed by the Chamber of Representatives. I am not going to read everything because the day will be over. So let's welcome Alejandro to talk about this topic of the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Before anything, believe me that this is going to be more boring than what you are going to hear. I am Alejandro Ruiz, as it was said. I'm going to talk about the Trans-Pacific Partnership, but from the experience point of view, participating with businessmen during these years. And I will focus in some points that we have already mentioned and the challenges that we may find. Interestingly, the context of this Trans-Pacific Partnership is related to what has just happened between the three countries' NAFTA agreement. So many of the things that we're going to talk about, we will corroborate along with Nacho Martinez, because it's going to be to see what are the perspectives of this agreement, multilateral aspects. So let's talk about this. I would like to say that it is really an honor to be with you in the last 4 years. If you have any comment, concern, or question, let me know. The Trans-Pacific Partnership backgrounds. The most important background was the Statement of Lima, and then in December 2011, that's the signature of the Framework Agreement and its implementation in 2015, July. There are 4 interesting points for business. Very interesting point. And the previous meeting was in Cartagena, in Colombia, then in Chile. Before that, we have people from Chile and Colombia here, right? Then, as I said, before that, it was in Peru. 4 years ago, in Caracas, there were four topics that were the core topics to develop. After the Trans-Pacific Partnership, uh, there were four topics that were the core to talk about an integration block. The first was funding among countries to develop companies in these four countries. The second one, and this was led by Mexico. I don't know how this is going to be now. There was a need to create the Entrepreneurship Institute, where SME entrepreneurs could get funding. After this, they wanted to create an education platform for the four countries. And finally, the pension and financing models that were targeted to production models. Those were the four core topics. Simultaneously, we started to see joint stock exchanges. Beyond the agreement, there is economic integration, as we can see. And what's the impact? The possibility of creating a market of 200 million persons. In the case of Chile, 25 million, Mexico 120, Peru 30. So probably it's not exactly 200, but that's a very interesting market that called for attention, as well as the integration of these four countries with all the platforms, the economic, social, and political ones, to develop themselves as a bloc. The most important points are these. Well, borders. Mexico, it's a market of 5 million square kilometers. As you know, this information is known. Currencies are the following. The four countries have a stable economy, backgrounds, a regional initiative by Mexico, Peru, Chile. They're observer and member countries. We're talking about 50 countries following this partnership. It represents the economic stability of the four founding countries. In 2012, it was the 9th economy in the planet. This is talking about economy. The three only economic countries, Chile, Colombia, Mexico in this case. We just need Peru. So this is history. I don't want to stop only with this. The interesting part here is how negotiations have taken place. When we had the last meeting, there was a big concern because it was in 2015. How we were going to work if we are different countries, how we are going to adapt needs and ideas. We had the chance to present before businessmen and students. Most of them told us Mexico has been for about 20 years with the big economies of United States and Canada. How could we be competitive? Because you have been linked to them many more years. You have negotiation experience, access to a huge partner, and there are many initiatives. Now, from the students, we had a very interesting situation. We saw a concerning situation. Many of them said, I cannot compare my knowledge to Mexico students. It is much more developed. So they were really concerned about having the opportunity to be competitive. That was their big concern. Are we really at the level of Mexico? So during that meeting in Caracas, we had the chance to talk to the productive sectors. After this, we knew that we have a big opportunity for everybody. That was exactly what we saw back then. In Caracas, we had two guest countries, Costa Rica and Panama. They wanted to adopt to the partnership. For many reasons, this has not been done. The truth is that they have been observers all this time. Next year, in the next meeting, the four countries attended. Macri from Argentina also attended, and Honduras or Costa Rica. The important point is that Mercosur countries represented by Argentina were considering the integration to Trans-Pacific Partnership. They saw it was a good proposal. So they started having meetings to link and incorporate to the TPP. Last year, they still had that concern about the development of these countries. And the most important is that they are interested in participating. 92% of products and services are deregulated already. So we have agreements between the bilateral chambers and businessmen. They are experiencing that synergy and they're seeing the advantages. Something very interesting here is that from last year to today, we can see some political uncertainty, especially in Mexico, due to election. We had the elections. Are we going to continue with the same spirit? So what happened this year in Puerto Vallarta 2 months ago? We met. Among the topics were wondering what to do with the new government, this uncertainty that we breathed then. We expressed our interest to continue. That's the important thing. What we can perceive, and there is a big interest from businessmen and the countries, is the Mercosur interest to participate in TPP. Other economies as well. This is good. A bigger market is being integrated. What I would like to mention here is that among this, I would like to ask what are the expectations regarding product development, sale. This is an interesting part, a very interesting part for you. This big opportunity to study the Trans-Pacific Partnership. People from Chile, Argentina have the opportunity to go and study in all these destinations to develop professionally. This is advertising in Chile. Scholarships Go ahead. This was one of the most important proposals that we had in Barracas. And the best way to do it was by scholarships. This announcement was in Chile, in Peru, Colombia, and Mexico. The big offer to study is sponsored by UNAM. So this is interesting. We had this phenomenon as a growth phenomenon. What else? Trade offices of Mexico, pro-Chile, pro-Peru, and pro-Colombia, that was pro-export first, started to say, our interest in business meetings is that they come with some products so we can have negotiations. I remember that when we started to see Mexico's phenomenon, it was interesting because we were asking about these three countries, Colombia, Chile, and Peru. How much are we bringing or taking to Mexico? A very simple example was given. As we talked to our Peru colleagues, what do you do when you wake up? You turn on the TV, and the economic impact is that you can switch it on and you will see Televisa or TV Azteca. And the TV screen is assembled in Mexico. What else? When you go for breakfast, you have Pan Bimbo, Mexico. And then you could also have dairy products from Mexico, your car from Mexico, assembled in Mexico. And probably the soda you are drinking is also from Mexico. Then you can hear a song from Mexico. So this is a big influence from Mexico. For many years, we have created, or we have given from Mexico to all over the world these products. And interestingly, what Colombians, Peruvians, and Chileans say, hold on, but where Colombia, Chile, and Peru can see in Mexico, this is more difficult, certainly due to history, because we haven't had the opportunity to know many normal products, but we're seeing more products from these three countries in Mexico. 4 or 5 years ago, Juan Valdez coffee shop arrived. It was very well known, and now it is developing in Mexico. I think that we have a recession in Mexico for them, so they will return. But the important thing is that they are arriving. Which other product of these three countries? Sura, insurance companies from Colombia, came here. They invested in Mexico. So how could we get at the level of Mexico? That was the question they posed. And the 4 trade offices started to make this exchange. What do we have? What do you need? And what can we offer? Those are only examples. You will have these presentations, so it's not so important, this slide. The important thing is that each country created its own catalog based on what the other country needed. We can underline which services or products could be provided, and I will get back to 4 business summits that took place. There are 1 or 2 days for each one of these sessions. It was 2, now it's only 1 day. They hold business meetings. What do you offer? What do you need? All these business encounters took place in Mexico. as COMCE has represented us, is come and invest, participate. Unfortunately, in Mexico, the business representation is by the Comercio Mexicano Exterior. Also an IRM, but in this case they have not participated a lot. Very important conditions have been created. From Peru also did what they needed. How they did it and how they can offer their products, tariffs, etc. Again, these are only descriptions. But something important. This is what Mexico needed at the end. Something curious is that something that has been criticized a lot to Mexico for its technological development is that we have not been able to consolidate businessmen in Mexico for offers to Central and South America. Usually, we speak to the north in terms of exports. That's why you were talking about the importance of this market. I'm sure that you're going to do this because you have fresh news. You have the last 20 hours of a trade agreement change. A lot of development has been in Mexico. A big part of Peru needs were in shoes. And in Mexico, what was the area for shoe production? Guanajuato. And the shoe industry, due to bad decisions, is obsolete. It's forgotten. So now it turns that Mexico has all the option to sell shoes to Peru, and they have not taken advantage of it. The important thing is that we need to develop our path because the opportunities for micro and SMEs are big, those that participate in trade agreements. The advantage of TPP is that they are very interested to consolidate SMEs through this market. For this, they create business schemes to foster and develop them with participation. Also, something that I would like to mention is that what has been said about the TPP is that our countries will impose some proper measures to stimulate businessmen and entrepreneurs. And the top advantage would be that great participation and the knowledge of our markets. And this is what we're going to focus on. These four presidents spoke about the big stability that this partnership represents and make it one of the experiences that could become the cornerstone to develop, the milestone to develop this regional trade market in Latin America. Many of them were talking about Brazil, Paraguay, Uruguay, and Chile intention to incorporate in the TPP, and this is considered. When the meeting ended, they gathered. We do not know when they are going to participate. The truth is that they represent a very important market. And with all this, we can see that the development bases are established. There are good opportunities. The commerce chambers of Colombia, Chile, Peru, and Mexico are working hard to create the basis for consumers' product and service offers that at some point could generate a satisfactory market to develop ourselves as a bloc. We depend, as we know, from the United States, Canada, and Mexico, and agreements can be described, the most important thing is that we have measures supporting people that want to import and export products, thinking that we have a 92% of products without tariffs, making very interesting market participation. When we talk about products, I can set some examples.
I will just give you the example. What Peru tries to do is to sell all the wovens and or alpaca. Say, if Peru has the raw material, Colombia has the designers, Mexico have the marketing. Why we can work together? It could be possible. Could be like through this within the four countries and the participation of one of them, this way of making business in all the world. So through this, the only thing we want to say that all the promotion organs will start really working with us so the countries can grow, so we will have a great opportunity as service providers to be part of this economy. So to know the situations of the four countries is impossible. Recently you told me about Venezuela's situation, which it is very hard that a Mexican well, not to know the situation of Venezuela or vice versa. So we need to be a supplement to provide a service. This is our great possibility to develop ourselves through an agreement or a partnership agreement between firms or countries. But we have the possibility to reach all the exporters, importers, the entrepreneurs that want to make business with these countries. So this is where we should get trained. And it's clear to me, we have the possibility to generate very good businesses in those places, but there are very few the ones that are prepared to do so. Today, this is our market niche. This is our great opportunity to have a partnership agreement or a trade agreement that will allow us as a bloc to start providing the services, mainly efficient services. You told me that you had people from Peru. Okay, Peru. Well, at some point, you that are providing the service, when have you approached the Chamber of Commerce, and what has been the experience? Sorry, they're not using the microphone. I'm sorry. And also, I have. There's some groups in the service sector, but they have recently been created, and also in the Chamber of Commerce, they are like promoting construction, tourism, physicians, but the services is not yet ready. Well, let me tell you, and this is another great opportunity that we have as professionals. I'm going to state Mexico, Peru, Peru, Mexico. Mexico has had through the chamber the possibility of having trade missions for 7 years with 20 companies that are interested in investing in Peru. Do you know the Peruvian chamber answered in Peru? They do not have an answer. Yes, because they do not have with the right people, the professionals. So here is where you have the great opportunity to start working with these chambers. The Bogota chamber, who is from Colombia here? Well, Bogota chamber is the number one chamber so in Colombia, not we. They participate in trade missions, but it's very difficult as a chamber can bring trade missions because they do not have the agenda or the group that will support in this kind of missions. In Chile, it's different. The Chile's chamber is in Mexico is strong, can have like businesses and also business appointments, but do not have their correspondents. The ones that are there in Peru and have a great opportunity to approach the chambers and providing them the service. So when we bring businessmen, they can guide us at your place. So we can talk about how making business in Mexico, the legal framework, etc. But when we bring businessmen there, the first thing that we want them to know is the entrepreneur, to talk about the business models, but mainly timings and real costs. We do not have that. In 2012, we took 25 companies to make business, and something that impressed us. There was a translation from English to Spanish. When we got there, there were 3 appointments per each company. That was our commitment. Do you know how many companies, how many business appointments this company had? Just a guess, a number. 5? 25 appointments. And their argument was something that was like, it was logical. They told me it's that you English, Spanish, you see it in like first hand, and you see that immediately, and you are born with all the tradition and the way of thinking of Americans. This is your natural market. As Peruvians, we can have the knowledge of the language, but we do not have the practical knowledge, and those sensitive topics are difficult for us, because you know that you have a great investment from to Japan and China. Everything negotiated in English, but when you want to negotiate in the northern part of the continent, it turns out that they do not answer you, because in some way the terms are just like does not match. So it is very important to review the English, because we want to have like a strong language that will give us certainty. This is one situation that we didn't believe. It's illogical. English is the same in every part of the world, and something similar, even if not in trade, in legal, with arbitration, who can support us in order to know if they are telling the right thing. I'm just going to give you a very funny case that happened for a food alimony. I'm going to say the following. In Mexico, what does jerk means, or dumb? What does that mean in Uruguay? A young person, a child. In Uruguay, they address with this word to a minor, and here we would say that it's not an intelligent person. But one part of the food alimony was like, it was supposed that they were administering the goods of this jerk. So when you read it, yes, if he's not capable of doing things. So and this really referred that those people were young, that when we get the legal age, they will administer their own alimony. But even though, believe it or not, they couldn't be able to understand this in the translation, and that's why they tried to apply another procedure. So this is where we have the great market niche to be better and to be providing the service in a very efficient and efficacious way. So this is what this offers us. So the great advantage of having a business of 120 million in Peru 135 million, and in Chile 25 million. All of a sudden, we have the possibility of a market of 220 million people. So not necessarily it is the same term when talking in Spanish. Well, we have the language. You have similar habits or customs in some way. We have a great opportunity to grow. And now, because we have some institutions that, like in Chile, there were simplified shares companies, and we incorporate that figure in Mexico. Who will know more about these laws, about the reason of this law? Mexico, in some way, has been using this 3 years, or Chile that has worked with it like for longer. So as lawyers, we need to study how they have consolidated this kind of figures, understanding them, and give options to the customers to invest. So the specialists will talk about the free trade agreement and TPP. But I would like you to see this. Are there options? Each country needs or has a list of options of their needs in services and products. What I'm suggesting you is to start learning on how, as professionals and experts in consultancy, to support them, because we have a market niche. And the great advantage is that UC&CS, we can create a solid block of knowledge to offer our customers. So I'm not concerned to sell tuna or salmon, or if it's a better tuna in Peru than in Mexico. No, what I'm concerned is to have the possibility to offer a product and service for them that require to grow. But if in the 4 countries we can consolidate an economic solid block of goods and services and experts in the subject matter in this agreement, that will be the strength that we have, Mauricio, to have a TPP. For sure, you won't say, now with the U.S., Mexico, and Canada agreement, we can grow. Yes, with the TPP, of course, we can grow. But here we have one natural possibility and real possibility. Really, nobody knows the text of this kind of agreements, and most importantly, this is a great advantage that we have, that today you are now to invest part of your time in learning what are the needs being offered. Just to mention a few. You see the amount, and you have all the material, but see the amount of areas, the quantity of areas that we have, which is integration, commerce. This is Chile. No, there's not like too many descriptions, but those are the activities where Colombia needs support, where Peru needs support, needs products. You will have it in your notes again. 6 by 10, we're talking about 60 products and services where you can start offering consultancy. Well, in this partnership, we have the opportunity to grow, and you can approach the chambers that do not have the technical human resources to grow. This is where I urge you, like us, at managers, accountants, lawyers, and professionals, start providing the service. Please develop the catalog. Hopefully will be hosted by UC&CS. Believe me that today we do not have this, and all the businessmen are increasingly interested, but when we see all those businessmen meetings, when there's enough material, so we can start be interested in the market. And this is my suggestion. Please start there to ground all your knowledge. Well, conclusions, many. But basically, for us, this represents an opportunity to generate not only knowledge, but also to knowing how to sell to the stakeholders of these 4 countries. To talk about economies, we are stable. This will be addressed by when you talk about foreign trade. But this is the great opportunity that we have with TPP. Okay, again, it is awesome how year by year there are trade missions that businessmen pay out of their pockets. They go to Peru, or some of them come to Mexico, and really when we go there, we do not have the support of a chamber that will provide a good comprehensive service. Hopefully, we will have this, Mauricio, as our goal of next year, to have a product service catalog and advisory for the people that would like to participate. This is our market, and believe me that there's more. We have 40 countries that would like in some way to participate and be part of it. This is our market niche, and this is my suggestion as professional and service provider. Please develop yourselves in this area. Do you have any concerns or questions? Am I good on time? Good afternoon. How do you want to materialize this partnership? Because it seems that all those trade missions take place. We try to relate all those companies of these 4 countries, but this should end in an agreement or contract or treaty or in a trade partnership that should be established within our foreign treaties. Let me tell you one case. We have just sent a customer to Peru. The chamber did not pay attention to him. They hired a firm of UC&CS, but beyond of this being difficult or easy to do, the situation of our customer is that the country as such, Peru, doesn't recognize certain costs that in Mexico, I'm talking about taxes or fiscal import taxes, export taxes, where they are not recognized, even though we have this trade mission. And we managed to interrelate these companies. We need a document, like a treaty, that evidences that the country has the rights to those benefits. So let me tell you one experience I had. For example, in Mexico, there are 2, the public notary and the broker. The documents issued by the public notary or have the same power. The problem that we arrived in Colombia, not in the main cities, but we arrived in, I don't know, whatever. And they do not acknowledge us, even though we have a document stamped. Yes. What's the point of establishing a company if it is not going to be recognized here in Colombia? So with this complete, we have materialized our situation. We go to the Mexican authority, and they will issue an opinion to know what is the situation. Oftentimes, what we do, in this case, we're talking about different things, but in some way they are like similar. Well, if we have a government that protects our powers, so they have the right to manifest. I don't know. 4 years ago, Peru exported from Peru to go around one ship with more or less 100 wood containers, and when they got here, regardless of another problem, those sanitary documents were not acknowledged in Mexico, but we do not have the system, and the authority did this in a different way. So we needed to have a relationship with authority. Sometimes we try. If you have an authority in one country, so the authorities will be will be calling and inviting us to formalize the powers. They need to intervene. If they agreed on, they have to manifest this. So this is what has worked for us. I understand your point. This partnership, we need more evidence or more documents, I know. But if they have agreed something, and they are demanding you the compliance, and they are not recognizing something, but you do not have the legal framework, tell the authority. At the end, they have to protect your interests. So in this case, what I would do is, what I'm being denied, immediately I go to my authority so the authority can work on my behalf. And they agreed upon this, and they have, for me, as an individual or citizen, it is important to have the authority to protect me. But again, I think that it is important not only to this be expressed by an individual, also all the bilateral groups or the chambers of commerce that they have this role. I don't know in other countries, but in Mexico, they forgot the most important thing. Chambers are there to defend the businessmen and the members of it, and sometimes they become political tipping points, and they do not defend the company, and this is the main role they have. If they say that they have this or that situation, so we need to remind them that they have to comply. And this is out. And this is done through the authority. So who, and they will, that have the knowledge, because this has worked for me. And this has worked for me in with the public notary, brokers, and with the wood containers. And that's why I got the results that I expected. This is my suggestion. Any other concern or comment, questions? Again, my invitation is that we have a market of 4 countries. Please try to, as a group, UC&CS, to exploit these opportunities, because we have like reciprocal needs. Let's try to fulfill them with the best service we can provide, and start generating a solid image in this market that nobody has it today. Thank you. You always motivate us. On behalf of UC&CS Global, we extend you this diploma for your excellent presentation. Thank you very much.